The transport ship docked with a soft hiss. Gina Kim stood by the window, watching as orbital station Nexus grew larger. The massive space station was the pride of the Kravoth Empire, a hub where many alien races came to trade and talk. Today, it would be her new home. Gina checked her reflection in the glass. She looked small and weak, just as planned. Her simple gray uniform hung loose on her frame, and she had styled her black hair in a plain, forgettable way. Perfect. All passengers for Orbital Station Nexus, please proceed to Exit Bay 3, announced a flat computer voice. Gina took a deep breath and picked up her small bag. She had trained for this mission for 2 years. Now it was time to play her part. The station corridors were massive, built for the much larger Kravoth. Gina felt even smaller walking through them. Aliens of different species moved past her, most twice her size. Some looked at her with curiosity, others with clear dislike. A tall, muscular Kravoth official waited at the processing area. His scaled skin was dark green, and 2 small horns jutted from his forehead. The name badge on his chest armor read Commander Dorn. "You are the new human liaison?" he asked, his voice deep and rough. His yellow eyes looked Gina up and down with clear disappointment. "Yes, sir." Gina Kim, representing Earth Diplomatic Corps. She bowed slightly, keeping her eyes down in a show of respect. Commander Dorn made a sound that might have been a laugh. "The humans send their weakest to meet the strongest empire in the galaxy." How typical. Gina said nothing, just smiled meekly. Behind that smile, she noted every detail about the commander. The slight weakness in his left knee, the way his hand rested near his weapon, the security patterns of the guards behind him. "Follow me," Dorn ordered. "I will show you to your quarters." As they walked, Dorn spoke loudly, clearly wanting others to hear. "Your predecessor was at least male. I thought humans understood that important talks should be handled by those with strength. I will do my best to serve effectively, Commander," Gina said softly. "Your best." Dorn stopped suddenly, turning to tower over her. "Your species' best is barely enough to survive, let alone thrive. You exist because we allow it." Gina lowered her eyes, playing the perfect picture of submission. Inside, she calculated exactly how she could drop the commander in 3 moves if needed. Not today, she reminded herself. Not yet. They passed through several security checkpoints. Gina pretended to be confused by the process, while mentally mapping every corridor and noting each security camera's position. Her quarters were small but private. As soon as Dorn left, Gina carefully swept the room for listening devices. She found 3 and left them in place. Knowledge was power. That night, as the station's artificial lighting dimmed to simulate night, Gina sat at her desk and wrote a simple message in her diary. Any Kravoth who read it would find only the nervous thoughts of an overwhelmed diplomat. The real message was written in a special ink visible only to her special contact lenses. Arrived safely. Security heavier than expected. 4 levels of clearance observed. Commander Dorn hostile, but predictable. Will begin mapping ventilation system tomorrow. Gina closed the diary and prepared for bed. In the mirror, she caught her reflection and allowed herself one true smile. The smile of a predator, not prey. The Kravoth thought they were getting a weak human woman. What they actually got was Commander Gina Kim, decorated operative of Earth Special Forces, with 15 years of combat experience and 11 successful deep cover missions. She turned off the light and whispered to herself, Day 1 complete. The hunt had begun. 2 weeks passed quickly on Orbital Station Nexus. Gina spent her days attending boring meetings and filing reports. She played her role perfectly, always polite, always a bit confused, and never showing any sign of her true skills. At night, she would secretly explore the station. She now knew the locations of all main security posts and had mapped 3 emergency escape routes. The Kravoth never suspected a thing. On this day, Gina sat in the main mess hall, eating alone. The food was bland, made to suit many species but pleasing none. She watched everything around her while pretending to read a datapad. Suddenly, loud voices echoed across the room. 4 Kravoth security officers surrounded a human man. He was on his knees, hands bound behind his back. "You are a saboteur," one officer shouted, pushing the human down harder. Gina recognized the man. His name was Han, a technician who worked in the lower levels. She had spoken with him briefly a few days ago. "Please," Han begged. "I didn't do anything. The system failed on its own." Commander Dorn entered the mess hall and walked to the scene. "Silence, human. We found your fingerprints on the damaged console. The evidence is clear." Gina knew she should stay quiet. Drawing attention was dangerous for her mission, but watching another human being mistreated tested her limits. She stood up and walked over, keeping her steps small and her head slightly bowed. "Excuse me, Commander Dorn," she said softly. "May I ask what evidence you have besides fingerprints?" Han is a technician. His prints would naturally be on equipment he fixes. The mess hall went completely silent. No one spoke to Commander Dorn this way, especially not a human. Dorn turned slowly to face her. His yellow eyes narrowed. "You question Kravoth justice, little human." Gina bowed again, deeper this time. "Not at all, Commander. I only wish to understand the process, for my reports to Earth." Dorn looked at her for a long moment. Then he smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. "Perhaps you would like a demonstration of how we handle these matters." Something in his tone made Gina cautious. "I would be honored to learn, Commander." "Excellent." Dorn's voice boomed across the hall. "Tomorrow at mid-cycle, we will hold a physical challenge. If you can defeat me in 3 tests of strength and skill, your fellow human goes free. If you lose, his punishment doubles." Whispers spread through the crowd. Several aliens laughed openly. "But Commander," Gina said, acting confused, "I am just a diplomat. I have no combat training." "Then you should not have questioned our methods," Dorn replied, "unless humans are too cowardly to stand for their own kind." Gina paused, as if considering her options. In truth, she was analyzing how best to use this situation. Winning would blow her cover, but losing too easily might make Dorn even more dismissive of humans. "I accept your challenge, Commander," she said finally, "though I request the tests be fair for someone of my size." Dorn laughed loudly. "Of course, I am not without mercy. We shall use the training arena. Be there at mid-cycle tomorrow." He leaned down, bringing his face close to hers. "Prepare yourself, little human. Tomorrow, all will see how weak your kind truly is." As Dorn and his officers dragged Han away, the mess hall filled with excited talk. No one noticed Gina's brief, calculated smile. That night, Gina sent another hidden message. "Opportunity tomorrow. We'll observe Kravoth combat style up close. Maintaining cover remains priority." She then practiced appearing clumsy and weak in front of her mirror. Tomorrow would require her best performance yet, fighting well enough to gain respect, but poorly enough to maintain her disguise. The real challenge wouldn't be facing Dorn. It would be hiding her true abilities while doing so. Gina woke early the next morning. She had much to do before her challenge with Commander Dorn. First, she needed to learn more about Kravoth fighting styles. She walked to the station's observation deck. This large space had clear walls that showed the stars outside. Many aliens came here to relax between work shifts. Gina sat on a bench and watched. 3 Kravoth warriors were practicing combat moves in the corner. Their bodies were powerful, with thick muscles under their scaled skin. Gina noticed how they moved, fast for their size, but with a slight delay when changing direction. Their long tails helped them balance, but also showed which way they would move next. "Interesting, aren't they?" said a voice beside her. Gina turned to see a human man sitting nearby. He was older, with gray in his dark hair. His name tag read Sunho Engineering. "Yes," Gina replied carefully. "They are very strong." Sunho smiled. Strong, but not perfect. See how they protect their throat area. The scales are thinner there, and their eyes are sensitive to bright light. Gina looked at Sunho with new interest. You know a lot about them. I've been on this station for 3 years, he said. You learn things when you watch. He looked at her closely. You're the new diplomat who's fighting Dorn today, aren't you? Gina nodded. Word travels fast. Be careful, Sunho warned. Dorn doesn't play fair. He uses a special cream on his scales before fights. It makes them slippery. Thank you for telling me, Gina said. This was useful information. Why help me? Sunho looked around to make sure no one was listening. Han is my friend. He didn't sabotage anything. Someone set him up. Gina leaned forward. Do you know who? No, but... Sunho stopped suddenly, looking over Gina's shoulder. Gina felt someone watching them. She turned and saw a tall human man across the room. He was looking right at them, then quickly turned away. Who is that? Gina asked. His name is Tahoe. Works in communication, Sunho whispered. Arrived a month before you. Keeps to himself. Gina made a mental note to learn more about this Tahoe. Another human watching her so closely could be dangerous to her mission. After Sunho left, Gina continued her observation of the different alien species. The jellyfish-like Mori floated by, their transparent bodies glowing softly. The insect-like Zen clicked their mandibles as they passed. Each species had different strengths and weaknesses. When no one was looking, Gina checked the small device hidden in her sleeve. It showed the station's security patterns. There was unusual activity near the lower labs. More guards than normal. Something important was happening there. As mid-cycle approached, Gina made her way to the training arena. Many aliens had gathered to watch the human diplomat be humiliated. Gina saw Han being held by guards in the corner. His face showed both hope and fear. Commander Dorn entered to loud cheers. He wore light combat armor and carried 3 different weapons. Welcome, little human, he called out. Are you ready to show everyone how weak your species truly is? Gina stepped forward, wearing her simple uniform. She looked small and helpless next to the massive Kravov. I am ready, Commander, she said quietly. From across the arena, Gina noticed Tahoe watching from the shadows. His eyes were focused, analyzing her every move. Was he just curious, or something more? Captain Ryuk, the most decorated Kravoth warrior on the station, stepped forward to explain the rules. 3 challenges, Ryuk announced. Strength, speed, and combat skill. The winner must take 2 of 3. Gina nodded, already planning exactly how to lose, but not too badly. Today she would learn their fighting style while keeping her secret safe. As the first challenge was prepared, Gina caught Sunho's encouraging nod from the crowd. Perhaps she had found an ally. She would need one if she was going to complete her mission and help Han. The assessment of her enemies was complete. Now the real test would begin. The training arena was crowded with aliens eager to watch the human diplomat fail. Commander Dorn stood tall in the center, his scales shining under the bright lights. Gina took her place across from him, looking small and nervous. The first challenge is strength, announced Captain Ryuk. He pointed to a large metal bar. You must lift this weight and hold it for 10 seconds. Dorn went first. He picked up the bar easily, holding it above his head. The crowd cheered as he completed the task without effort. When it was Gina's turn, she approached the bar cautiously. It was clearly too heavy for her smaller frame. She gripped it, pretended to struggle, and managed to lift it only a few inches before dropping it. The crowd laughed. Humans are so weak, Dorn said loudly. 1 point to me. Gina nodded meekly. Inside, she knew she could have lifted that bar. Her enhanced muscles, hidden under her loose clothes, were 3 times stronger than they looked. The second challenge is speed, Ryuk said. He pointed to a marked track. Race from one end to the other. The race was no contest. Dorn's powerful legs carried him across quickly. Gina ran at a normal human pace, careful not to show her true speed. She finished well behind Dorn, who raised his arms in victory. 2 points to me. I win, Dorn announced. The crowd roared with approval. We will still complete the third challenge, Ryuk insisted. Combat skills. Gina and Dorn moved to a circular mat. The rules were simple. Push your opponent off the mat. Try not to break, little human, Dorn laughed, taking a fighting stance. Gina stood awkwardly, as if she had never fought before. When Dorn charged, she dodged clumsily, making it look like luck. On the second charge, Dorn nearly pushed her off the mat. Gina stumbled but stayed on. The crowd was getting bored. This was too easy for Dorn. As they circled each other, Gina noticed Sunho standing near the edge of the arena. Suddenly, another Kravov officer stepped behind Sunho and raised a shock stick, ready to strike him. Gina reacted without thinking. In a split second, her body moved with perfect precision. She spun around Dorn and blocked the officer's arm just as it descended towards Sunho. The whole room went silent. Gina realized her mistake immediately. No ordinary diplomat could move that fast or block a Kravov strike. She quickly stumbled backward and fell to the ground, pretending the block was an accident. I tripped, she exclaimed. I'm so sorry. Most of the crowd laughed, thinking she had gotten lucky. Dorn was too focused on winning to notice, but Captain Ryuk was watching her with new interest, his yellow eyes narrowed in suspicion. Dorn charged again, and this time, Gina let herself be pushed off the mat. The crowd cheered as Dorn celebrated his victory. As expected, the human fails, Dorn announced. Take the prisoner back to his cell. Double his punishment as agreed. Wait, Gina said, getting to her feet. I may have lost, but I showed up and tried my best. That counts for something. Dorn laughed. You think your pitiful effort deserves reward? Captain Ryuk stepped forward. Commander, the human showed courage by accepting the challenge. Perhaps we should show mercy. Dorn looked annoyed, but nodded. Fine. The prisoner's punishment remains the same, not doubled. As the crowd began to leave, Gina caught Ryuk watching her closely. Had he noticed her slip? She would need to be more careful. Later, in a quiet corridor, Sunho found her. Thank you, he whispered. That officer has had it out for me. How did you move so fast? Just lucky, Gina said with a smile. Very lucky. From the shadows, Taiho watched them both, his face showing neither belief nor disbelief in her explanation. Gina's cover was still intact, but barely. One slip could ruin everything. She needed to be perfect from now on. 3 days after the challenge, Gina sat in her quarters reviewing her notes. Captain Ryuk had been watching her closely since the incident in the arena. She needed to be extra careful. Her hidden computer showed a message from Earth Command. Find source of unusual energy readings in station's lower section. Possible weapon development. Gina knew she needed to get into the restricted areas, but her diplomat clearance wasn't enough. She needed Ryuk's access code. A soft knock on her door made Gina quickly hide her computer. Come in, she called. Sunho entered, looking nervous. Can we talk? He asked quietly. Gina nodded and checked for listening devices. What's wrong? I found something while fixing a cooling system, Sunho said. He handed her a small data chip. The Kravoth are working on some kind of weapon in Lab 7. I saw test results. It targets human brains specifically. Gina's heart beat faster, but her face remained calm. A bioweapon. Yes, they've already tested it on tissue samples. Sunho looked down. Human tissue samples. This explained Han's arrest. He must have discovered something he shouldn't have. Thank you, Gina said. This is very dangerous information. Be careful. After Sunho left, Gina examined the data. The weapon was designed to attack human neural pathways, causing paralysis and then death. It was nearly complete. Gina needed to see this lab, but it required the highest security clearance. Only Captain Ryuk or Commander Dorn could access it. The next day, Gina found Ryuk in the station's garden area. This space had plants from many worlds, giving residents a reminder of nature. "Captain Ryuk," she said with a small bow. "May I join you?" Ryuk nodded, his eyes studying her carefully. "You recovered quickly from your defeat. Humans may not be as strong as Kravoth, but we adapt well," Gina replied. Ryuk touched a purple flower. "This plant is from my home world. It looks delicate, but it survives in the harshest conditions." He looked directly at Gina. "Some things are not what they appear to be." Gina felt a chill. Did he know? "I admire your people's fighting style," she said, changing the subject. "So efficient. I've been trying to learn a few basic moves for exercise." "Have you?" Ryuk seemed amused. "Perhaps I could show you sometime." "I would be honored," Gina said. This was perfect. Getting closer to Ryuk could help her get the access she needed. As they walked through the garden, Gina pretended to stumble. Ryuk caught her arm, and she used the moment to place a tiny scanner on his uniform. It would copy his security codes the next time he entered the lab. "Thank you," she said, looking embarrassed. "I'm not very coordinated." "Aren't you?" Ryuk said softly. Before she could respond, Gina saw Tahoe enter the garden. He stopped when he saw her with Ryuk, then turned and left quickly. That evening, Gina took a different route back to her quarters. As she passed a dark corridor, someone grabbed her arm and pulled her into the shadows. It was Tahoe. "What are you doing?" she hissed. "The question is, what are you doing?" Tahoe replied. "I know you're not just a diplomat." Gina prepared to defend herself. "I don't know what you mean." "Stop pretending," Tahoe said. "I'm Agent Tahoe Park, Earth Intelligence Division, and you're compromising my mission." Gina froze. Another human agent. This complicated everything. "You're working for the wrong people," Tahoe continued. "The Kravoth bioweapon isn't what you think. There's more going on here." "Explain," Gina demanded. "Not here." Tahoe checked the corridor. "Meet me in Maintenance Shaft 12 tonight. Come alone." After he left, Gina stood in the shadows, thinking. Was Tahoe telling the truth, or was this a trap? Either way, things had just gotten much more complicated. Gina arrived at Maintenance Shaft 12 exactly at midnight. The narrow passage was dimly lit and smelled of oil. Tahoe was already there, checking a small device in his hand. "You came," he said, not looking surprised. "Talk," Gina demanded. "Who are you really working for?" "Earth Special Intelligence," Tahoe replied. "Different division than yours. We didn't know another agent was being sent." Gina stayed alert, ready to fight if needed. "Prove it." Tahoe showed her his hidden badge. The code matched official Earth protocols. It seemed real. "Why are you here?" she asked. "Same reason as you. The bioweapon." Tahoe put away his badge. "But there's more to the story. The weapon isn't just Kravoth technology. Someone from Earth helped them create it." Gina's eyes widened. "A human traitor?" "Yes. High-level scientist. My mission is to identify the traitor. Yours?" "To find and destroy the weapon," Gina said. Tahoe nodded. "Then we need to work together. I've been trying to access the lab for weeks. Your connection with Ryuk might be our way in." Gina considered her options. Working with Tahoe was risky, but necessary. "I placed a scanner on Ryuk," she said. "It should copy his access codes when he enters the lab." "Smart," Tahoe admitted, "but we need a distraction to keep him busy while we use those codes." They spent the next hour making a plan. Gina would keep Ryuk occupied with diplomatic talks, while Tahoe used the copied codes to enter the lab. The next day, Gina requested a meeting with Ryuk to discuss Earth-Kravoth relations. "Captain Ryuk," she said when they met in his office, "I've been studying your culture. I'm especially interested in your military history." Ryuk seemed pleased. Few humans take interest in our warrior ways. As they talked, Gina casually mentioned Earth's defense systems, appearing to accidentally reveal weaknesses. This caught Ryuk's full attention, just as planned. Meanwhile, Tahoe moved through the lower levels of the station. The scanner had worked. He had Ryuk's access codes. He reached the lab door and entered the code. The door slid open. Tahoe slipped inside, careful to avoid the security cameras Gina had mapped for him. The lab was large and filled with strange equipment. In the center was a clear container holding a glowing blue liquid, the bioweapon. Tahoe quickly placed small cameras around the lab and downloaded files from the main computer. He needed to find evidence of the human traitor before they could destroy the weapon. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the station. In Ryuk's office, Gina tensed. Something had gone wrong. "What's happening?" she asked, maintaining her innocent facade. Ryuk checked his computer. His eyes narrowed. "Someone has breached Lab 7. He stood quickly. Security lockdown. All non-essential personnel returned to quarters immediately. Gina had to warn Tahoe, but couldn't break her cover. "Of course, Captain. I'll return to my quarters right away." As she left, she heard Ryuk ordering all humans on the station to be detained for questioning. Gina hurried through the corridors, trying to reach Tahoe before security did. She turned a corner and saw 3 Kravoth guards blocking her path. "Halt, human," one ordered. "By command of Captain Ryuk, you will be escorted to holding cells." Gina put on her best confused diplomat face. There must be some mistake. No mistake. All humans are being detained. The guard grabbed her arm roughly. Gina could easily break free, but that would blow her cover completely. She had to play along and find another way to help Tahoe. As the guards led her away, Gina caught a glimpse of the station's security feed on a nearby screen. Tahoe was surrounded by guards outside the lab, his hands in the air. Their plan had failed. Now they were both captured, and the bioweapon remained intact. Gina would need a new plan, and fast. Gina sat quietly in her holding cell. Unlike regular prison cells, this one had a bed, table, and chair. The Kravoth were at least treating her like a diplomat, not a criminal. Not yet. She had been there for 6 hours. No sign of Tahoe or any other humans. Gina used this time to examine the cell for weaknesses. The door was solid metal. The walls were thick. There was one air vent too small for escape. The door slid open. Captain Ryuk entered alone. "Comfortable, Ms. Kim?" he asked. "I don't understand why I'm being held," Gina said, keeping her voice meek. Ryuk sat across from her. "A security issue. Nothing for a simple diplomat to worry about." Gina noticed he emphasized the word simple strangely. "When can I leave?" she asked. "Soon, perhaps." Ryuk studied her face. "Tell me, how long have you worked as a diplomat?" 3 years. Gina lied smoothly. "Interesting career change from special forces, isn't it?" Gina's heart raced, but her face showed only confusion. "I think you have me confused with someone else." Ryuk was about to respond when alarms blared throughout the station. The lights flickered, then went out. Emergency red lighting came on. Ryuk's communicator beeped. "What is happening?" he demanded into it. A panicked voice answered. "We're under attack. Menda ships have docked at levels 3, 5, and 7. The Menda Collective, a rival alien faction known for their ruthlessness." This was bad timing. "Secure the prisoner and join Defense Team 2. Ryuk ordered a guard outside. To Gina, he said, "We will continue our chat later." After Ryuk left, Gina heard shouting and weapons fire in the distance. The station was under serious attack. This could be her chance to escape, but she needed to be smart about it. The guard outside her door suddenly made a choking sound. Then silence. The door slid open, and Sunho stood there holding a stolen weapon. "Quickly," he said, tossing her a small device. This will open your restraints. Gina deactivated her cuffs. Where's Tahoe? I don't know. The Menda are everywhere. They're heading for the lab. Sunho handed her a weapon. We need to hide. No, Gina said firmly. We need to reach that lab first. They moved through the corridors carefully. The station was in chaos. Kravoth's security forces were fighting the Menda invaders. In the confusion, no one noticed two humans slipping past. As they reached level 6, 3 Menda warriors rounded the corner. The Menda looked like tall, thin humanoids with pale blue skin and 4 arms each. All of them carried deadly energy weapons. Humans, one of them hissed. Kill them. Sunho froze in fear. There was no time for subtlety. Gina pushed him behind her and dropped her frightened diplomat act completely. What happened next was so fast, Sunho could barely follow it. Gina moved with incredible speed and precision. She dodged the first energy blast, closed the distance, and struck the first Menda with perfect form. Her hands and feet became weapons, hitting vital points with devastating force. In less than 10 seconds, all 3 Menda warriors lay unconscious on the floor. Sunho stared at her in shock. Who are you? Later, Gina said, her voice now confident and commanding. We need to keep moving. Unknown to Gina, a security camera had captured the entire fight. In the security center, Ryuk watched the footage with intense interest. His suspicions were confirmed. The small human woman was not what she appeared to be. So, he muttered to himself, the prey reveals itself to be a predator. Ryuk made a decision. Instead of exposing her, he copied the footage to his private device and erased it from the main system. He needed to speak with her alone first. Gina's cover was blown, but only to one person. The real question was, what would Ryuk do with this knowledge? Gina and Sunho moved quickly through the station. Alarms blared. Emergency lights cast red shadows on the walls. They needed to reach Lab 7 before the Menda did. There's a shortcut through Maintenance Tunnel B, Sunho said, pointing to a small door. They crawled through the narrow tunnel. It was hot and smelled of oil. When they reached the end, Gina checked her small scanner. No one was in the hallway outside. Clear, she whispered, pushing open the hatch. They were now on level 7, just 2 corridors away from the lab. Gina moved silently, her body tense and ready. This was the real Gina now, a trained fighter, not a weak diplomat. As they turned the final corner, Gina stopped suddenly. Captain Ryuk stood alone in front of the lab door. Go back, she told Sunho. Find Tahoe if you can. Sunho looked worried, but nodded and disappeared back the way they had come. Gina stepped into the corridor, her weapon raised. Move away from the door, Captain. Ryuk turned slowly. He didn't seem surprised to see her. Commander Gina Kim, Special Forces, Earth Military. 15 years of service, 11 successful deep cover missions. Gina's eyes narrowed. How long have you known? I suspected after the arena. I confirmed it when I saw you fight the Menda. Ryuk didn't reach for his weapon. Your file makes for impressive reading. You accessed my classified file. Gina kept her distance. The Kravoth Empire has good spies too. Ryuk studied her. You move like a Xarti hunting cat. Beautiful and deadly. What happens now? Gina asked. You try to kill me. I try to kill you. Ryuk surprised her by stepping away from the lab door. Neither, I hope. Gina stayed cautious. This could be a trap. The bioweapon in this lab, Ryuk said quietly, violates our most sacred honor codes. It is the work of cowards, not warriors. You're against it. Gina couldn't hide her surprise. Many of us are. But Commander Dorn has the Emperor's ear. Ryuk's face showed disgust. A true warrior faces enemies directly, not with invisible poisons. Gina lowered her weapon slightly. Why tell me this? Because I need your help to destroy it. Ryuk looked her in the eyes. And you need mine. Before Gina could respond, her communicator beeped. It was Sunho. Gina. The Menda have Tahoe. They're taking him to the lab. They know about the weapon. Gina looked at Ryuk. We need to move now. Ryuk nodded. Can you trust me? Gina thought for a moment. Her instincts told her Ryuk was telling the truth. Yes, but if you betray me, I'll show you exactly how deadly I can be. Ryuk smiled, showing his sharp teeth. I would expect nothing less. He entered his code, and the lab door slid open. They entered cautiously. The lab was empty, but Gina could see the bioweapon container had been moved. A trail of blue liquid led to a back door. They've taken it, Ryuk growled. They must have their own traitor inside our ranks. Worse than that, Gina said, checking a terminal. According to this, Commander Dorn has accelerated the deployment timeline. The weapon will be ready for use against Earth in less than 12 hours. Ryuk's eyes widened. This changes everything. We must find Dorn. First, we find Tahoe and the weapon, Gina said firmly. As they left the lab, Gina felt strangely relieved. Her cover was blown, but she had gained a powerful ally. Now she could fight openly, using all her skills. The true Gina Kim was finally free to hunt. Gina and Ryuk moved swiftly through the station's corridors. Fighting between Kravoth security and Menda invaders continued all around them. Gina no longer hid her abilities. She moved with deadly grace, taking down any Menda that crossed their path. We need to find where they've taken Tahoe and the weapon, Gina said as they ducked into an empty control room. Ryuk accessed a terminal. The Menda would need a ship to transport the bioweapon. Their main vessel is docked at Hangar 3. Gina checked her weapon. Then that's where we go. Wait, Ryuk said. Dorn will have already mobilized forces to recapture the weapon. The hangar will be heavily guarded by both sides. We need help, Gina admitted. They found Sunho hiding in a maintenance closet nearby. His eyes widened when he saw Gina and Ryuk together. You're working with him now? Sunho asked in disbelief. We have a common goal, Gina explained quickly. Can you access the station's systems? We need to create a diversion. Sunho nodded. I can trigger the fire suppression system in the main hub. That would draw forces away from the hangar. Good, Gina said. We also need to free Han. He knows the ventilation system better than anyone. We'll need that knowledge to reach the hangar undetected. While Sunho worked on hacking the system, Gina's communicator beeped with an encrypted signal. It was a message from Earth Command. Secure bioweapon. Do not destroy. Priority Alpha. Gina frowned. Her orders had changed. They wanted her to capture the weapon, not eliminate it. Ryuk noticed her expression. Problem. New orders, Gina said, making a quick decision. But the plan remains the same. We stopped that weapon from leaving the station. They moved to the detention area where Han was being held. With Ryuk's access codes, freeing him was easy. Thank you, Han said, looking confused at the strange group. A human combat specialist, a Kravoth captain, and an engineer. Gina explained the situation quickly. Can you get us to Hangar 3 through the ventilation system? Han nodded. There's a maintenance shaft that runs directly above it, but it's narrow. The Kravoth won't fit. Ryuk touched the communicator on his wrist. I have another route. I'll meet you there. Gina wasn't sure if she could trust Ryuk completely, but she had no choice. Don't be late. As Ryuk left, Gina, Han, and Sunho entered the ventilation system. The metal tunnels were dusty and dark. They crawled for what seemed like hours. Almost there, Han whispered, pointing to a grate ahead. Gina looked through the grate. Below them was Hangar 3. The Menda had set up defenses around their ship. Commander Dorn and his forces were attempting to break through from the main entrance. In the center of the hangar, Gina could see Tahoe tied to a post, and next to him, the glowing container with the bioweapon. We need to cause confusion on both sides. Jinna said. Sunho, can you cut power to the hangar? Sunho nodded and began working on a nearby junction box. Jinna's communicator beeped again. It was Ryuk. I'm in position with a small team. We'll attack from the east entrance on your signal. Ready, Jinna confirmed. She checked her weapon one last time and looked at her companions. Our mission is to free Tahoe and secure the bioweapon. Don't try to be heroes. What about you? Han asked. Jinna smiled, a predator's smile. I'm not trying to be a hero. I'm just doing my job. Sunho finished with the junction box. Ready when you are. Jinna took a deep breath. Cut the power. Now. The hangar plunged into darkness. Jinna kicked open the grate and dropped into the chaos below. The final battle had begun. Darkness filled the hangar. Confused shouts echoed as both Menda and Kravoth soldiers tried to understand what was happening. Jinna dropped silently from the ventilation shaft, landing with perfect balance. In the dim emergency lights, she moved like a shadow. Years of training guided her steps. She took down 3 Menda guards before anyone noticed she was there. The east entrance, now. Jinna spoke into her communicator. On the far side of the hangar, explosions sounded as Ryuk and his loyal soldiers attacked. Commander Dorn's forces pushed harder from the main entrance. The Menda were caught between 3 attacks. Jinna reached Tahoe and cut his ropes with a quick slice. Took you long enough, he said with a weak smile. Can you walk? Jinna asked, already checking the bioweapon container nearby. Yes, Tahoe stood shakily. But the Menda leader has the activation codes. We can't move the weapon without them. The lights suddenly came back on. Jinna found herself surrounded by 5 Menda warriors, with their leader behind them. The human spy, the Menda leader hissed. So small, yet so troublesome. Across the hangar, Jinna could see Commander Dorn breaking through the Menda lines with his elite guards. Ryuk was fighting his way toward them from the other side. Hand over the weapon, Jinna said calmly, and you might survive this. The Menda laughed. You are surrounded and outnumbered. Jinna smiled. That just makes it fair. What happened next stunned everyone in the hangar. Jinna moved with impossible speed. Her hands and feet became weapons of perfect precision. The first 2 Menda fell before they could raise their weapons. The third fired, but Jinna was already behind him, striking vital points with deadly accuracy. The 4th and 5th attacked together. Jinna flipped over them, kicked one into the other, and landed lightly on her feet. In less than 12 seconds, all 5 warriors were down. Only the leader remained. The entire hangar went silent. Both Kravoth and Menda troops stopped fighting to watch. The Menda leader drew 2 energy blades. I will kill you myself. He charged. Jinna stood perfectly still until the last moment. Then she moved, not away but toward the danger. She slipped between his blades, struck 3 precise points on his arms, and he dropped to the ground, paralyzed. Impossible, he whispered. Jinna took the activation codes from him. Not impossible, just well-trained. Commander Dorn pushed through the crowd, rage on his scaled face. Traitors everywhere. The weapon is mine by order of the Emperor. Ryuk and his soldiers formed a defensive line around Jinna, Tahoe, and the bioweapon. This weapon violates our ancient codes, Ryuk called out. It brings dishonor to the Empire. Stand aside, Captain, Dorn ordered. That is a direct command. Jinna stepped forward. The weapon targets humans specifically. This is an act of war against Earth. War is coming anyway, Dorn sneered. Your planet is weak. We might as well strike first. If humans are so weak, Jinna asked loudly, so all could hear, how did I just defeat 6 Menda warriors alone? How did I infiltrate your station for weeks without detection? The Kravoth troops looked at each other, uncertain now. Jinna turned to the bioweapon container. She had orders to secure it, not destroy it. But she made her decision. Watch closely, Commander, she said. Gina entered a self-destruct code into the container. The blue liquid began to bubble and then dissolved into harmless gas. What have you done? Dorn roared. Prevented a dishonorable war, Gina replied. Dorn drew his weapon and charged at Gina. She sidestepped easily, using his momentum against him. With 3 precise strikes, the massive Kravoth commander crashed to the floor. Gina stood over him. I could kill you, but that would only prove your point about humans. Instead, I offer peace. Ryuk stepped forward. Commander Dorn is relieved of duty. The Kravoth Empire does not begin wars with poison. We face our enemies with honor. The station's troops saluted Ryuk. The Menda, without their leader and weapon, surrendered. Later, as the station returned to order, Gina stood with Taho, Sunho, and Han by a viewing window. Beyond the glass, stars shined. What happens now? Sunho asked. Gina smiled. Now, real diplomacy begins.